Hello students, welcome back class 11. Today I am discussing our MySQL topic. Today I am taking our another MySQL function, date and time function. Okay, so you can see in date and time function, first we use cur date function. Cur date means it display only today's date. Okay, so I want to show in practically, I want to show all the date and time function practically. I want to show. So here first we start all programs, then you can see MySQL, then MySQL server 5.5, then you can see MySQL 5.5 command line. Okay, so MySQL is our open source software. It is not a case sensitive language, means we can type capital letter, small letters, so MySQL easily understand and will execute. Okay, so MySQL is a very simple and flexible language. So MySQL command we can type in capital as well as small letter, so MySQL will easily execute. Okay, so here I am using the password of MySQL root. Okay, I want to show all the database which are available in MySQL server. So you can see this is a list of our MySQL server. So school database you can see, but I want to open school database. So here I am using school. Okay, now I want to show all the tables which are available in school database. So we know very well in school database only one table, student, but I want to know the complete details. So here I am using describe. Okay, here I am using student. Okay, so you can see SID, name, city, date of birth, fees. SID integer, name where character, city where character, date of birth, date and fees, decimal 7,2. What is the constraint in SID? Here I am using primary key constraint. Name you can see not null, city you can see not null, date of birth you can see not null, or fees column you can see yes, fees we can left blank, but name, city, date of birth, SID we must input. And here in SID have two constraints, primary key and not null automatically, so we must input student ID. Okay, and we cannot use same ID for another student, always use unique value in SID because this is our primary key. Now here main concern, here I want to display all the details. So here you select star from student. So star means all the columns with all the rows. So you can see, because here there is no where means all the rows, here star means all the columns. Okay, but before we can we first use date and time function. So first we use select cur date. So here I am using select, here you can see cur date. Okay, semicolon, enter. So you can see this is our today's date. Here first display year, then month, then you can see our today's date 12 Jan 2021. So simply cur date will give today's date. Now next function we can use date function. Okay, but before date we can use day, month and year function. Okay, so first we use select. Here we can use suppose day. Here I mention today's date. Okay, today's date you can see here I mention. Okay, but in this date you can see only day part. So day part you can see 12. So you can see in the output you can see 12. Here I am using select month. Okay, so in this date you can see only month part you can see. So what is the month? Here you can see 1. Now the last function we can use year. Okay, so in this date we want to display only the year part. I want to display only the year part. So you can see year you can see. So you can see cur date will display today's date, but in day we can mention any date, but here format is important. First we input year, then month, then day, but in this date it will select only day part. Month, so it will select only month part, and year it will select only the year part of already mentioned date. Okay students, So you can see, so day, month and year will display selectively individual part. Here we can use now function and sysdate function. Okay, so you can see select, here I will select now, okay, so it will display date as well as time. Okay, current date. Here I am using sysdate function. Okay, so again it will display current date and time. So same thing you can see, so same output you can see, but here is thin line difference. Here I am using select, here I am using now. Okay, here I am using sleep. Okay, here we can use to, again we can use now function. Okay, so you can see what is the output. So you can see now first display the current date and time. After 2 seconds you can see the pause time, 2 second pause time. After 2 seconds now function again display, but you can see same thing you will see again. The time is same, the date is same, the time 15 to 29, 15 to 29. Okay, so now function will not update after 2 seconds. After 2 seconds it will display the same time. So here I am using same thing, but here I am using sysdate. Here I am using sysdate. Okay, before pausing and after pausing 2 seconds. Sleep, after, before pausing I want to display date, and after pausing you want to use the sysdate. So what is the difference? So you can see after 2 seconds you can see in difference in seconds 15:3:22. Here you can see 15:3:24. So after 2 seconds passed you can see 2 seconds automatically incremented. But in now function after 2 seconds second will not incremented. So this is very thin line difference between now function and sleep function. So before pausing and after pausing in seconds now function will not update, but before sleeping and after sleeping sysdate automatically incremented after 2 seconds. Okay, so you can see in seconds difference. Okay, so here in seconds will not update, here seconds will update, automatically increment. Okay students, so this is very simple thing, the difference between now and sysdate function. Sleep function we already discussed. We can pause the execution process directly, select, here I am using sleep, here I am using suppose 5 seconds. So 5 milliseconds it will pause, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so sleep function we can pause execution process. Okay students, now sleep, here I am using another function, day name, day of month and day of year. Okay, so here I am using select, here I am using day name, here we can mention today's date. Okay, here I am using 2021, here I am using 1, here today's date 12. So what is the day name? So you know very well today is 12. So in 12 Jan 2021 Tuesday. Okay, here we can use day name will give Tuesday. Here I am using day of month. So here I am using day of month. So you can see, so it will display day of month 12. Okay, now we can use day of year. So here simply we can use day of year. So it will display again 12. Okay, but here I want to change. Suppose here I am using 2, here I am using suppose 12. So it will display 43, means in February 12. So start from 1st Jan. So automatically in serial number from 1st Jan to this date 12 Feb. So you can see the serial number, you can see 43. Okay, so you can see from 1 to 365 serial order. So we can say day of year. Here we can use month name. Okay, so here simply we can use, suppose here I am using month name. So what is the month name? Okay, so you can see here I am using January. Okay, so in this month January you can see. Okay, suppose here I am using 2. so it will display February. Suppose here I am using month 3, so it will display March. Okay students, so today you can see I have discussed about various date and time function. Okay, simply you can see current date. Here date function you can see. So date function it used to store any date. Suppose you want to store any date. Suppose I want to store 1/1998 in 11th month. I want to store 28. Okay. So you keep in mind. So date function we directly use the simply date to store any date. First we mention year, then we mention month, then we can mention date. So in this style, year, 4 digit year, 2 digit month, and 2 digit we can use for day. So date function we will use to store any date. Okay. So different kind of function you can see to different kind of purpose. But this function we can apply on our date of birth column. Okay, simply we can use select. Here we can use suppose day name. Here I am using date of birth column. Here I am using from student. Okay, now you can see in date of birth you can see. Okay, here I am using date of birth column name also with parallel you can see. Okay, first it will display date of birth column, and in this column you can see day name. Okay, so that day was Saturday and that day was Saturday, that day Sunday. Okay, you can see. Now here I am using day name. Here I am using only day part, so it will display only day part. Okay, so 2, 23, 17. Okay, you can see same thing, but here instead of day we can mention month. Okay, so it will display only month part you can see. Here I am using only year part, so it will display only year part. Okay, now here I am using month name. Okay, here we can use the remaining function. Suppose day name, day of month, day of year. So here I am using day name. Okay, so it will display this day name, and then we can use day of month. So here I am using day of month. So you can see day of month, you can see 2, 23, 17, and here I am using day of year. Okay, so here I am using day of year. So you can see, so in this date from 1 to 365 it will 336. From 1 to 365 in this range it will 328. Okay, so in this style you can see day of year. Last we can use month name. Okay, this is very interesting thing. Here I am using month name. So it will display in you can see 12 December, 1 November, 10 October, 9 September, 12 February, 3 March, and 3 June. Okay, so you can see we have used month name, day of year, day of month. Okay, day name. Okay, so different kind of function we can use sleep, seize date. Okay, to display current date and time. Year, you can see year part. Okay, so you can see that function we can use. Okay, current date, day, month, year. It will display year part. Now it will display current date and time. It will also display current date and time with updated time. Sleep, pause the execution process. Day name. Okay, you can see day of month, day of year, month name, day name, month name. Okay, so these are our MySQL functions. So you can see the various output. Okay, students. So today I am discussing very interesting thing, the date and time function. So you keep in mind. Okay, so different kind of function, and you should remember the name carefully, and the output you keep in mind. So the output is very thin line difference. Okay, so you can see. Okay, students, thank you so much.